Alright, let's talk about Emmet.
Aren't you Beverly Johnson's boy?
You know, the guy in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas who runs that sketchy little gun shop in Willowfield. He's the type of guy that you go to when you're desperate for firepower and don't mind the gun being a little bit older than your grandpa. But there's a lot more to Emmet than just rusty pistols. Not much, but still more. So, today we're diving into his backstory, his role in the game, and much more. Let's get into it. Right, well, first things first, who is Emmet? Well, Emmet is basically the owner of a terrible wee shop and he's from the street Willowfield. He was born sometime in the early 1900s. No one really knows when, because Emmet's so old, his birth certificate is probably in hieroglyphics. Emmet's whole life revolves around loyalty to the Grove Street families, because he's been the unofficial armourer for decades. And by armourer, I mean he sells you guns that look like they've been fished out of a swamp. Right, now let's be clear. Emmet isn't about the money or the glory. The man's all heart. His shop might be falling apart and his weapons might be a safety hazard, but his loyalty, absolutely amazing. His shop is in Willowfield, which is where another set of the families is located, if I remember correctly. I mean, you walk in there and it's like stepping into a time machine, but except instead of cool antiques, it's full of guns that should have been retired after World War I. Emmet first shows up in the mission 9s and AKs. Ryder and CJ are desperate for some firepower. So what do? They call Emmet. And what does he give them? A rusty pistol that you couldn't take a fly out if it landed on your nose using this gun. Now, to be fair, Emmet's not about quality, he's about nostalgia. The man's been doing this for decades and he's still hyped about it. He acts like he's giving people top-notch weaponry. Meanwhile, CJ's standing there thinking that this gun belongs in a museum. During the mission, Emmet gets CJ to practice shooting bottles, which is basically his way of saying, right, this gun is useless, but at least you look cool holding it, and at least you can maybe shoot a bottle. The whole scene is so ridiculous, but you have to love the guy's energy. Ryder, of course, isn't impressed. He's just sitting there thinking, this is why we don't come here anymore. But CJ, he gives Emmet a chance, because deep down, even CJ knows Emmet has that OG spirit. Right, now here's the thing about Emmet. He's more than just a rusty gun dealer. He represents loyalty to the Grove Street families, even though he's not from the same set as them. In his own words, he's been proudly serving the community for over 30 years. And even though the Grove Street families have fallen on hard times, Emmet never left. The guy stayed loyal, even when everyone else abandoned the neighbourhood. Think about it. Grove Street's been through wars with the ballers, corrupt cops, and even their own internal drama. But Emmet has always been there, holding it down with his rusty pistols. Right, sure his guns aren't great, but his dedication is. He's like that one friend who always shows up, even when they're an hour late. One of the funniest things about Emmet is his confidence. The guy's running a shop that looks like it's been hit by a tornado, but he acts like he's selling military grade weapons. He's out there like, I get what you need. But meanwhile, Ryder's in the background, shaking his head, like, no you don't. Emmet also shows up at the worst times, whether you're in the middle of a gang war and he's offering you guns that might explode in your hands, but at least he's trying. And then there's his shop. I mean, come on, has anyone actually cleaned that place in the last 50 years? There's rust on guns, dust on the counters, and probably a family of raccoons living in the back. But Emmet's still out there thinking he's the best gun dealer in Willowfield. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And remember, if you're ever in Willowfield and you need a rusty gun and a good laugh, you know where to go. Go to Emmet's, he's got your back. Don't forget to check out my Discord server, link in the comments, and I'll see you later.